Okay, we're back up. I remember before, a little while ago, someone asked about making Italian ices with other products. And I just wanted to, they were actually asking about organic. So I wanted to point this out. I have made Italian ice using agave nectar. That's what you make tequila out of. But agave works very well. It's about, I'd say it's about 2.5 times as sweet as sugar. So you use a lot less of it. I'm a diabetic. I wear a pump. And I shouldn't be eating any of this stuff, but I do. And there's what they call the glycemic scale. And without getting too fancy about it, it's 1 to 100. And 100 being the worst for a diabetic. And sugar's in somewhere around 94, which makes it really bad. And agave comes in about 23. So technically, if I want to break my diet, I can do it better with agave than I can with cane sugar. And so this worked very well. It was a real nice product. It was way sweeter than I expected, so the first batch was too sweet, and I had to throttle back from there. And if you buy this in the health food store, it's about $7 for this container. If you buy it at the supermarket, Publix, they stock it here in Florida, which means you can get it anywhere around the country at other supermarkets. Price drops to about $3.50. So it's not something that has to come from a health food store. It comes in light and dark, and I still can't see any difference on it. But that's one possibility. Can you make a sugar-free Italian ice? Yes, you can. But it's going to have a product in it called multidextrin. You might see that Stouffer, is it Stouffer's? No, it's some other candy. It's some candy company sells sugar-free chocolates. And those sugar-free chocolates are indeed sugar-free. But if you have a little bag of chocolates, who eats just 1 or 2 chocolates? I mean, not me. I'll eat the whole bag. And after you eat the whole bag and all of a sudden you've got a severe case of Montezuma's Revenge, you then read the label that says this product contains multidextrin, which may cause you to get self-induced Montezuma's Revenge. It'll just wreck your stomach, something awful. So you could make a sugar-free product, but I don't like multidextrin at all. And if you're catering to diabetics, you sometimes have to tell them, listen, we don't really have a product that you should be eating. You know, we don't want to hear it. We're a very vocal group, but you know, sometimes that's the fact. We're going to make a coconut cream ice. My friend Larry DiStefano up in Staten Island with very successful Ralph's Italian Ices, I think is the absolute king of cream ices. And I don't have his formula, but this is somewhat the way he would probably do it. And a cream ice is like an Italian ice, sugar, water, and flavor. But then we're adding, actually, the easiest way to do it is to buy 10% soft ice cream mix. And just add some soft ice cream mix to your sugar, water, and flavor formula. That makes a great cream ice. I had just enough of my dairy product to make the 2 batches I want to do today. So I'm going to try this, which is going to be the Coco Lopez and some Carnation sweetened condensed milk and some heavy cream. I have to go off camera for a second and get the heavy cream. I'll be right back. What are you doing? She's making the rounds to see if anybody just happened to drop a roast beef sandwich. Anybody happen to drop a roast beef sandwich in here for her? She can smell it. Okay, 7 quarts of water, 2 cans of Coco Lopez, got that, 2 pounds of sugar, pint of heavy cream, can of sweetened condensed milk. Okay, we'll give it a try. So the first thing we need is 7 quarts of water. how much sugar? 2 pounds of sugar, so that'll be one of these bags. Hey, Sadie, that's kind of rude. I don't know if you see her on camera? Oh, Paula is going to, you are going to be, uh-oh, here she comes. Jiggers, the cops. Sadie, get out. Bye. You're busted. All right, so I'm going to pour some of this water into the machine now so I have some room for the other ingredients to mix it in here. Okay, that's some of my water, and then I need the 2 pounds of sugar, and like I said, sugar is sugar. It doesn't matter what brand you buy. And it dissolves very nicely in cold water. Now, I haven't made it this way either, so this will be an experiment. I'm suspecting it might be a little sweet. But the beauty of Italian ice cream, when it comes out of the machine, its maximum flavor is about 24 hours later. So if you taste my vanilla ice cream coming right out of the machine, you say, oh, you know, it's good, but it doesn't have enough vanilla. The flavor will actually bloom in 24 hours. That's not the case with Italian ice. Italian ice is what you taste is what you get. So if you're at this point and you have a questionable formula, or you think you might have to doctor the formula, you can mix it up in the machine and then stop the machine and take out a sample and taste it. Because whatever it tastes like is what you're going to get. So that's pretty handy that it works that simply. That's going to take a spoon. I'll be right back again. Lunch from Sean in Honduras. He's down there today and called up and said that he's watching, and that another part of the family, Susie, is in Louisville, Kentucky, also watching. So hello to both of them. And see, even though I'm from New York, I know how to pronounce Louisville. It's not Louisville, it's Louisville. I went to the Kentucky Derby when I was in college. A friend of mine's father owned Canada Dry Bottling Company of Louisville, and of course you can't bring any liquor into the stadium, to the racetrack. So since he owned Canada Dry Bottling, without his father knowing, we went out and bought lots of rum and bourbon and the whole works, and we put it into Canada Dry liter bottles and sent it back through the sealing machine so that the caps were brand new, and that's how we brought it in. That was a great party. So I know how to pronounce Louisville. Okay, that's one. This is one of these products, Coco Lopez, that there really isn't a close substitute for. And you can buy other cream of coconuts, but, and I guess you could use a substitute in sugar water here, but if you're doing anything special, there just is nothing better than the Coco Lopez. 3 gallons. There's a guy up in the Bronx who's got a very big business. I can't give you his name because I don't want to get in that much trouble. But he has a very good secret recipe. He takes coconut, bags of shredded coconut, and puts it into boiling water and lets it sit overnight, scoops out the coconut and throws it away. The boiling water leaches out all the flavor. And I can just see the cars coming down here to get me tomorrow. And then he takes that water, instead of using tap water, he uses his coconut water that he's just made to make his coconut Italian ice. Because in the Bronx, you can sell any flavor you want as long as it's coconut. And it is the best coconut I've ever had. There's no question about it. All right, so I'm going to cut back on this one a little bit and try it. We got everything in here, the water, Lopez, the sugar, the cream, the heavy cream. And then I'll give it a quick taste and see what it tastes like. See if I want to add the rest of the condensed milk. I hope you're not full yet. That's not bad. I think I'll put a little more of this in, then we'll get it going. I did put the cream in. Yes, thanks. Okay, now that'll probably be our longest batch of the day, freezing time, because of the high sugar content. And let me see what else I can tell you. We talked about wholesaling, which is just a great way of doing business. There's another organization. I don't know if I have their literature. I do. Called, the acronym is NICRA. N-I-C-R-A. It's the National Ice Cream Retailers Association. And this is our trade association in the business. And this is a great organization to belong to. It's not very much. It's around 100 or so for a year. And they publish a bi-monthly or every other month newsletter that people write in, people who are in the business write articles for. We have a convention once a year. Now there's lots of conventions that go on. There's the National Retailers NRA show in Chicago. There's the food show in New York. I mean, they're everywhere. There's one over here in Orlando. And quite frankly, I've stopped doing them all because it's much more effective to do one-on-one with my customers over the internet using the DVDs that we send out for free, answering internet questions, doing this, Skype. These are all great ways to communicate as opposed to being part of just a huge, huge trade show. But NICRA does a trade show once a year, and we move it around to different locations. We did it actually here in Florida this past fall. We did it in Jacksonville, and then the next one will be up in, I think, South Carolina is where it'll be, but it moves around. We were in Scottsdale, Arizona a couple of years ago, and what's unique about it is everybody there is either in the frozen dessert business or going into the frozen dessert business. And there's lots of booths like me. I have my machinery there, and at Jacksonville I ran machines and showed people how to do this. but there's the flavor companies, it's the dipping cabinet companies. So you go to a big show like National Restaurant Show, and they're selling pasta and beds and silverware and linens and dishwashers, and it's just a big mishmash of everything. Whereas the NICRA convention is just ice cream people. And I get a lot of people calling up, and they want to say, okay, I live in Birmingham, Alabama. Give me the names of 4 people I can go see who use your machines. Well, I don't give them out. I'm sorry. I guess it turns a few people off. I think many people realize that no one sells more batch freezers in the world than I do. But I don't like to give out names, because if you've worked up your business and it's your trade secrets and it's all yours, you don't want me sending people in to see you and saying, well, do you use an Emery Thompson? Do you use Neil Williams? Where do you buy your vanilla? You can say I'm opening up in a different state, but sometimes they're opening up 10 miles from you. And people are not willing to give out that information. I don't blame them. If I had spent $150,000 setting up an ice cream parlor, I wouldn't be giving out, all my information either. I worked hard to put it together. But at the NICRA convention, I don't know, maybe it's the drinks with the umbrellas in them, but everybody spills their guts. They're so proud of what they do that you ask someone, well, whose vanilla do you use? Oh, I use Lockhead. Well, whose strawberries do you use, or whose base do you use for Italian ice? Well, I use National, or I use Steve Cool's product out of Philadelphia. They'll just tell you anything you want to know. So it's a great convention. I'll pass these out for you, and you can take one. It's something to consider joining in the future. And the person who runs that is a lady named Linda Utterback. And Linda has been running it for us for years, and she also owns the National Dipper magazine. And the National Dipper magazine, some of the magazines in the dairy industry are, quite frankly, they're designed for Unilever, who owns Ben & Jerry. They're not designed for us. I even wrote one of the dairy magazines, and I said, there's not one thing in here for the individual mom and pop store, and yet we total in the millions compared to your few thousand. You're missing your own boat. But National Dipper magazine is a free publication. All you have to do is be in the business, send a business card, say, I'm in the Italian ice business, I'm in the ice cream business, and Linda will send it to you. And it's got great articles and all sorts of great information in there. If you want to know about leasing or financing machinery, mine and anything you might be buying from Neil Williams, I use a specific company. The president of the company is named Barry Fink, F-I-N-K. Barry owns Sterling Capital Leasing. Now, I lease cars, and if I go to my car leasing agency and say I want to lease a batch freezer, they'll probably do it for me. But they have no idea what a batch freezer is. They don't know what to do with it if something went wrong, so they're going to up the price of the lease dramatically just to cover the cost of it. The reason I use Barry is Barry understands the ice cream business. He used to work for Taylor. He does leases for Taylor, Emery Thompson, Electro-Freeze. And so when he sets someone up in the business, it's because he knows about the business. And so I find that very helpful. Again, I try to surround myself with people who know our industry and what they're doing. Let's see how we're doing over here. That's freezing, but it'll take a while with the sugar. Sanitation, I mentioned no glass. Oh, no, I didn't mention that. I mentioned no chemicals in the room. I'm really breaking my own rules with that one glass I had in here. I don't know where it went, but that I showed you. But everything in the ice cream room should be plastic, or the ices room. Everything needs to be plastic. If this was made out of Pyrex, Pyrex Glass, you probably have one at home, a measuring cup, and it's glass. And if you break it on the floor, it'll break into 2 pieces, and you can say, oh, those are the 2 pieces. Well, here's a little bit of a ridiculous analogy. If you are having a glass of wine in your dining room and you drop your glass, that glass is going to shatter from the wine glass. It's going to shatter into the living room. It's going to shatter into the kitchen. It just goes everywhere. Well, Pyrex, if you drop it, is not going to shatter. It's going to break into two pieces. But we're in the food industry, and I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and worry about did a shard of glass get into my ice cream or my Italian ice. So if I have everything in the room here to be plastic or paper, I don't ever have to have that worry. The lid is closed on this. This is made out of Pyrex. I can sew the two pieces and put them back together. I would still dump that product, throw it out, start over, and clean up, because I just don't ever want to risk to have anything foreign in my product. So if I just don't buy it in glass and I just don't put it in here, I don't ever have that problem again. And it's really pretty simple. Like, here's a carafe. That's plastic. It's pretty nice. I just found that with a screw top. But that's plastic. Everything in here needs to be plastic so that you don't have to worry about breaking something. I mentioned the chemicals, the Clorox versus the citric acid. You really ought to be making, when you're making product like this, when you're running, you've got your timer, but you ought to be telling your other employees, I'm going in to make Italian ice now. I'm going in to make ice cream. I'll be finished in 3 hours. Don't bother me. Because invariably what happens is you get someone on the phone and they say, oh, I just need a minute of your time. Well, that minute of your time goes to 17 minutes, and you come back and your machine is frozen solid because it was done in 12 minutes and you've just spent much longer than that. So if you're alone here, or if you're just making product, get it done, get it finished, get it cleaned up, and get out. And just tell people you can't come in. My friend Gary up in Chelmsford, Mass., he has some kind of sign over that says, we love all our customers, but I'm making ice cream, go away. You know, and that's really the attitude that you have to have. So no interruptions, no phone calls. Leave your cell phone put away somewhere. People ask about, should I buy my ices and ice cream, or should I make my own? Well, the truth is, anybody can sell Haagen-Dazs. Now you hear that noise? That it's having trouble scraping? That means I'm a little low in sugar. My formula is off. So what I'm going to do to save this batch is I'm going to turn off the refrigeration for a minute. It's going to cut the ice off the walls, and then I'll continue freezing. The solution is when I go back, remember I told you I hadn't made this before. When I go back, I'm going to readjust that formula because this one is a little shy of sugar. But see, if you go to all the expense of opening up a store and you're selling Little Jimmy's Italian Ice, or you're selling Hershey's ice cream, I could open up down the street from you and sell Little Jimmy's or Hershey's, and now we're competing. Or I can open up a homemade ice cream parlor and advertise all homemade ice cream, all homemade ices made on the premises, and you just went completely out of business. Because if people have a choice of homemade versus commercially made, they're always going to go with the homemade. So it's a strong reason to make your own. Plus the normal markup between the retailer. Let's say here's Hershey's and here I am. Well, it's going through a middleman to be delivered to me, and the normal markup there is 1/3. So 33% cost is added into your product before you even get it. It doesn't improve the product any, it just increases the cost. So you're eliminating that by making it yourself. But you can't beat that. You can't beat the homemade concept that it's fresh made. Plus also, well, you control the freshness. It wasn't made up in Lodi, New Jersey 6 months ago, and it's not them telling you that, well, we don't have the pina colada ice, but we have a lot of blue ice, therefore you have to take blue ice. This way, you're making what you need when you need to make it. You control the inventory. We're going to make gelato next. Again, gelato has really kind of fallen apart in the United States. In fact, Taylor, who was importing all but one of their batch freezers, all but 2 models, from Italy, has now stopped even selling them. You can't buy them from Taylor. You can't get parts for most of their product line of batch freezers, because the Italians looked at America and just said, well, this is the way we do it in Italy, so that's the way you have to do it. Well, like I said this morning, they eat ice cream maybe 3 or 4 times a week. If we ate ice cream 3 or 4 times a week, our cardiologist would kill us. They would just say, you can't do this. Americans eat ice cream usually about once a week, maybe twice a week. So we are not going out to a gelateria or an ice cream parlor every day of the week. The American diet, for as bad as it is, and it's my diet, is a Diet Coke and a bag of chips at 11 o'clock in the morning, and a Diet Coke and a bag of chips at 4 in the afternoon. The Italian diet is gelato at 11 in the morning and gelato at 4 in the afternoon, but we just don't do that. So their method of making it and only making small amounts, and if you're out of that flavor, you're out of that flavor, just didn't work in the United States. What works in the United States, and again, I said we're here to make money. What works in the United States, and people out there who are planning gelaterias are just ready to turn off their computer right now. But what works in the United States is something that's been around for over 107 years, is old-fashioned American hard ice cream and American Italian ice. Not every part of the country knows Italian ice, but it is growing faster than, based on my sales and what the machines are being used for, it is really taking off like crazy. The other thing you do in the ice cream business is you become very weather dependent. By that I mean, I've got this friend, I mentioned to him before, Bubby Keith, out in Ahia, Hawaii. And Keith gets up at 6 in the morning, gets a cup of coffee, and turns on the Weather Channel. And that he then determines, this is ready, I'm going to pull this out. Whoa! There we go. Even too fast for me. Keith determines what the weather's going to be for today, and if it's going to be beautiful in Hawaii, he's going to go down to the factory and he's going to make 6 or 7 batches of coconut ice. If the weather is going to be kind of rainy and crummy, or there's a monsoon coming through, you know what I forgot? I forgot that I was using these small pans, and there's a lot more product in here. If he sees it's going to be lousy weather, he'll still go down to the factory, but he's probably only going to make 1 batch of this. And then this afternoon, the nice thing about Italian ice, if this afternoon at 2 o'clock the sun comes out and he needs more, he can go right back to his machine, and in 20 minutes he's got a whole nother batch of ice ready to go. So when you're doing your production, you become very aware of the weather. Isn't that a nice looking product, just pure white? Come on. There. Nice stuff. Want to come up and try this? We'll all see together what it's like. Let me just take a quick taste. It's a little weak. It's a little weak on the coconut flavor, but it'll give you the idea. There you go. Let's see, there's no artificial colors in here. Just a pure white product. What do you think? There you go. I think the sweetened condensed milk gives it a nice taste, but it does need more Coco Lopez.
You could just put sweetened coconut in there too, right?
Sweetened coconut? Yes, you could. Yeah. That's pretty good. Does need more coconut. I'm sorry, what?
From Puerto Rico.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
You think it needs more coconut, though? Yeah, it does. But the texture's good. So that means the sugars are pretty good. But every once in a while I make a mistake, and when I hear that noise, that's scraping against the walls, and rather than throw the batch out, all I have to do is turn off the refrigeration, wait a minute or so, and it'll come right back up. Let me just do a little house cleaning here.
Also, Coca-Cola have coconut milk.
A coconut milk?
Coca-Cola also have coconut milk.
That would be good. Now, you being from Puerto Rico, it brings up a point in this politically sensitive world. This is a politically sensitive discussion. But again, we're talking about making money here. If the three of you walk into my office and I have to guess what's your favorite flavor of ice cream, I can't do it. I have no idea. But if three people walk in and I have to guess what's your favorite flavor of Italian ice, I can come pretty close. If you're Italian, it's going to be lemon ice. If you're Jewish, it's going to be chocolate ice. If you're Hispanic, it's going to be one of the coconut flavors. If you're black, it's going to be grape or cherry. Now, what that does for me, knowing what people are probably going to buy, is I've got a friend, Ricky Arepas. I call him my cousin in Miami. You know, Ricky can get you anything you need. He's just a wonderful man. And Ricky is doing trade fairs all over the state of Florida. So one moment he's down in a Cuban market selling coconut flavors and pina colada and mango. And the next time he's up here in Brooksville, and he's selling flavors that are going to work better in a redneck neighborhood, which we're quite frankly in. Or if you were in New York and you were doing in Riverdale, New York, which is a predominantly Jewish area, you'd be selling chocolate ice. So you can you can be based in one place and you can look at your market and know what's going to sell. There's no sense bringing lemon ice to a black neighborhood. It isn't going to sell. And although that sounds, it's not racial, it's purely business, but it tells you what's going to sell where. And I don't know any other product you can do that with. I mean, I told a family member years ago, I said, you know what, this is why you don't want to take my stock tips of Anadarko or Dutch Shell or any of the other oil companies. But I told a family member, I said, you know what, this business of Starbucks is for the birds. It's never going to work. Americans are too busy. We're too running around everywhere. The only place where anybody ever sits down and has a cup of coffee is in Brooklyn. There you sit down, you have a cup of coffee, you have a pastry. Nowhere else on earth. It's never going to work. By the way, what'd you do today? Oh, I was down at Starbucks for about an hour and a half meeting my girlfriends. You know, and the rest is history. We know how Starbucks turned out. So there just aren't a lot of products that you can predict what's going to sell the way you can with Italian ice. So that's pretty neat. So that's the coconut, and I will adjust this for the next time. If you come back in May, we'll increase the coconut flavor. Now we're going to make the Irish Mocha Gelato. I want to rinse out because I don't want to have the coconut flavor mixing in with the Irish coffee. So let me get a couple of buckets of water going. Now I'm going to use hot water to speed the process. And there's a lot of fun things you can do with liquor ice creams. I used to make for my friends up north Grand Marnier liqueur ice cream. Grand Marnier is a very expensive French liqueur. It's an orange base. And so I would make a vanilla ice cream, add a bottle of the Grand Marnier, and I would take, again, the zest that I forgot to use this morning. I'd take the cheese grater and just zest the outside of 6 oranges, California Navels, because they have the most outside skin. And I would put that in the machine. You end up with this orange liqueur, the Grand Marnier, so you have the flavor and the aroma of the orange liqueur, the little specks of orange in there. I mean, it's fantastic. And it's one of those flavors that there isn't really a good, close substitute. I mean, triple sec is kind of like Grand Marnier, but it's not great. Something like Kahlua and cream. Kahlua is so strong, and since you're putting it into coffee, you can substitute Kahlua for almost any coffee liqueur. Rum raisin, my uncle used to make rum raisin, and he would take golden raisins, not the dark ones, but the golden ones, put them in a bowl, cover them with rum, and let it sit in the refrigerator for a week. The raisins will absorb the rum, and then you take them out and throw the whole mess into the batch freezer. And so when you get a raisin, you bite into a raisin, you get a little squish of rum coming out of the raisin. It's really spectacular. That would probably make a good Italian ice. And people buy by name, so you've got Bacardi right there in Puerto Rico with a big factory. So you call it, you advertise it, Bacardi, you know, Bacardi rum raisin ice cream, or Bacardi rum Italian ice would be very interesting. It depends on every state. You can do it in Florida. You found in New York by volume. Yeah, by alcohol content.
It was under SLA, now it's under
But we're not putting that much in. I mean, my contention, especially with rum, was always, well, you go into a bakery shop and they're selling a baba rum, which is just soaked in rum. So I look at it from a different aspect. I had a customer up in Connecticut who was the first one ever to do this. He was selling liquor ice creams. And the kiss of death in any business is to have. So we'll see you later. Take care of your dog. Bye. He was, the kiss of death is to have two different price structures. And obviously the liquor ice creams were costing him more. So he put up a sign, first person ever to do it, adults only ice cream. You must be 21 years of age or older to purchase this ice cream. And I went up and saw him, I said, how's that working out for you? He said, just stand in the corner and watch. So it was after school, and in comes some 16-year-old. I mean, obviously 16 years old. And he puffs up his chest and says, I'd like some of that rum raisin ice cream. And the guy goes, fine, show me your ID. Oh, it's in the car. And he goes out and he leaves and never comes back. And then they get, I used to tell this story 20 years ago, now I'm living it. Some old coot like me comes in the back door and says, quick, give me some of that rum raisin before my wife sees it. and so the different price structure didn't hurt him because he had put that sign up, and mothers didn't get upset that their teenage kids or younger were buying liquor ice creams. But I think it's also something you could do on an exclusive basis. If everybody's coming to you for Italian ice and you're doing exclusive flavors that you can buy a 3-gallon tub for $50 from me, a party tub that's got Bacardi rum in it, or it's got, you know, whatever liquor you're making, Jameson's Irish whiskey or something like that. You can certainly command a higher price, and if it's being used at a private party, what could be better? Or hotels, restaurants. Restaurants can get away with it because they've got a liquor license. Would I sell it to the general public? I don't know. If it's going to cause me a lot of trouble and everybody questioning it, and if I upset just one mother who thinks that maybe their teenage son who looks like he's 21 is going to get away with getting it, I mean, they'll buy them all the beer they want on Friday night to have their kids in their own house, but they don't want you selling it to them. It's a double standard. But it would certainly help you develop the wholesale business. Yes.
Can you explain hard frozen yogurt and soft frozen yogurt?
Hard frozen yogurt and soft frozen yogurt. The difference is going to be soft frozen yogurt is going to come out of a soft serve machine. A soft serve machine is one that you load up with the product and it freezes it down. It's a very narrow barrel and it just sits in the machine all day long, all day, all night. And when you want some, you go over and you pull the handle, and that's your yogurt. You take out your portion that you want. It's not terribly fresh because it's been sitting in there all day long. Hard frozen yogurt is going to be just making it in a batch freezer and putting it into a tub and then scooping it from here. Maybe freezing it in the hardening cabinet. So we're going to serve it like ice cream. We're going to scoop it and maybe put it on some fresh fruit. So that's basically the only difference. It's the same product otherwise. My other complaint with frozen yogurt is back when Bison and Hood came out with it in the 70s, it was a true yogurt culture. It was a live culture, just like Dannon yogurt. If you eat Dannon yogurt plain, the stuff is very tart. It has a live culture in it. Most of the frozen yogurts are only yogurt in name. If there's a culture in it, it's long since dead, and it's not at all tart. It's nothing, to me, it's nothing more than soft ice cream. So it really depends on what you're buying and who you're buying it from. I go with Mary Stratton. If it's got more than 4 ingredients, I probably don't want it. Okay, we're good to go here now for the last flavor. Let me just wash my hands. And this is going to be the ice cream mix, vanilla, taster's choice, Hershey's syrup, which I'll explain, and the Irish whiskey. Let me go get the ice cream mix. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the blend, milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk that we discussed this morning. Just make sure, yeah. When you get into the ice cream business, you'll take these and put them on end and put them into a bucket. And by the end of the day of making a lot of ice cream, you'll pick up a whole extra bag just by doing that. So it's really worth your while. I couldn't believe it when I first saw it, but it makes a difference. Okay, now we want some vanilla. And there's 2 great vanillas in the world. There's Lockheed and Nielsen Massey, and they're both fantastic. That goes in. Vanilla enhances almost everything. And then we need 10 ounces of Irish whiskey. How about that? Okay, I have some more ingredients to go, but I'm going to get this started freezing. We need the taster's choice. The taster's choice is a freeze-dried. You can use Cafe Bustelo. You can use any of them. They'll dissolve about 90% in the ice cream. So every once in a while you get a little crunch of a freeze-dried crystal, but it's fine. Because my feeling is if you're a tea drinker, you're not going to buy coffee ice cream. If you're a coffee ice cream drinker, you want to know it's coffee. You want the taste. Okay, now here's the secret ingredient, and that's some Hershey's syrup, because the coffee has a little bit of a bitter bite to it. So, as I was told, you won't notice that there's chocolate in the coffee ice cream. You'll just notice that there isn't a bitter taste. So it's a great addition, and just plain old Hershey's syrup works great in just a few squirts. And that'll do that. Let's get a few more of those crystals down in there. Now this one, I'm going to package up in half-gallon containers. You've seen how fast it comes out of the machine, but I'm going to package it in half gallons because I want to be able to give it out to friends. And it's just a wonderful bribe to give to doctors or anybody else who's going to keep you waiting for a long period of time. I had this one eye doctor up in New York, and he made all his appointments for 3 in the afternoon. There'd be 10 people in his office for 3 in the afternoon. And they would tell you, bring War and Peace. You're going to be sitting there reading for a long time. And so I would bring ice cream. One time I brought ice cream and the receptionist took it, and I still waited an hour, but I got in ahead of everybody else. The next time I got smart and I said, oh no, I'll hold on to the ice cream. You just tell the doctor I'm here. And by the way, it's melting. So I got in right away to see the doctor. Another time I brought this guy, this specialist, the ice cream, and the nurse insisted on taking it from me, and I gave it up. I waited 3 hours. And so I get in to see the doctor. I said, all right, what's up? I bring you fresh ice cream. You make me wait 3 hours? He said, the lady before you brought homemade chocolate chip cookies. I go, you turncoat. But it's a great entry. And I guess the real moral of the story is if you want to get in to see a chef when no one else can see that chef, bring something for them to try. I mean, you can talk all day long about how you've got the freshest vegetables on earth, but unless they can see them and taste them and smell them, how do they know? I mean, I wouldn't know. So I think it's just a wonderful idea to bring a sample in. I mean, something like that looks really nice. It's softening up now. But you could bring that tray in. It's not going to take a lot of room in his area. And gee, if that costs you $10 to make and it generates you thousands of dollars over the next 5 years, I mean, that was pretty good return on your advertising dollar. When you're dumping things in the sink, I'm looking to see if I have one. A spaghetti colander? Gee, I think you've watched my courses before. When you're dumping stuff into the sink, let's say you made the Oreo cookie ice cream. You're going to leave a couple of pieces of cookies in the machine. Get a spaghetti colander and put it in your sink so that the wastewater, you know, when you're washing out, you wash it all through here. I'm not trying to save the Oreo cookies. I'm trying to save the Oreo cookies from going down my drain. And so, because if you make ice cream for 5 hours, you clog that drain every day, you know, you're not going to be very happy. So just something that simple will stop the drains from being clogged up. And then if you're using something really expensive like almonds, you can, you know, still use them. So that's a pretty straightforward thing. I don't mind dogs in the ice cream room, though the health department does not allow it. I definitely don't like children in the ice cream room because just when you're talking to them and you think you're watching them, boom, they're over here. And they don't understand, that by them licking the machine, they're contaminating it at the very least. We don't have to go any further than that. Just don't trust children around heavy machinery. It is heavy machines. And let's see what else I can tell you while we're finishing up here. We'll give you a tour of the factory if you like.
Would actually make a distribution deal where you're distributing it to, let's say, a specialty store in your area. What kind of regulatory issues do you get in there? Then do you have to start labeling all the ingredients that are in it? And who regulates that? Is that your local health department or is that somebody else?
It varies depending on every single state, what you have to do as far as labeling. But if you're going to set up a retail ice cream business, go ahead right now and get the wholesale license. It's not that much more difficult. It only costs about a few bucks more, and then you'll be all set up for wholesaling. Every state's different, but for the most part, there was a law case years ago that I found fascinating. The steak sauce, Worcestershire sauce from England. H.J. Heinz wanted to know, the ketchup people, wanted to know what was in Worcestershire sauce because it's a secret formula. And they couldn't get the recipe, so they sued them through the federal government and said, you got to make these people put what's on their label. And that would have given away their secret. That would be like Coca-Cola putting what's in Coca-Cola. And so a judge decided on it. He decided, very interesting, for Coca-Cola, for Worcestershire, you can say that in the case of Coke, it contains water, caramel, natural and artificial flavorings. Worcestershire, it said water, sugar, natural and artificial flavorings. And they said that natural and artificial will cover all your ingredients. In some states, they want the list of flavors, but they keep it and nobody else sees it. But for the most part, so if you're making ice cream, and I like using homemade cartons, not so much, as opposed to fancy printed. But if that was your container, and even though plastic's expensive, that's pretty nice because my friends are going to get to reuse it. They're going to keep it in the kitchen. I would have a sticker on here. I would say Steve Thompson's homemade ice cream. I'd have another sticker that says mint chip. And then on the Steve Thompson label, it would say made at plant number 8374265, which is all the health departments require. They don't require you to say that it's made in Brooksville, Florida, just a plant number. So if someone, up and drops dead, they can track you down. They have the information. And then you can say made from milk, cream, sugar, skim milk, natural and artificial flavorings. Ben & Jerry just got into a big lawsuit over this because they said natural flavorings and they didn't list artificial. And there are artificial flavors in Ben & Jerry. So they've now had to change their labels to add that. But you don't have to have a label for cherry and a label for Oreo cookie and a label for Grand Marnier. So it's not as bad as it sounds. Yes, question?
You say you're going to give it that to your family or mates, right?
Yes.
How do you just shape it, or
Do I just...
how do you do the delivery?
Oh, I freeze them down in the hardening cabinet to 30 below, and I can travel a long time with a 30 below product. Easily an hour, hour and a half with no melting because it's so cold out of the hardening cabinet. The Italian ice, you take it down to 0. I don't have one here, but I go over to Jupiter, Palm Beach area once a month, Paul and I do, and we take a big igloo cooler. And if you've got about 15 of these stacked on top of each other and they're all at 30 below, the cold is feeding on itself. So the whole cooler is at 30 below. And the whole cooler is warming up, not just... if I divided the cooler and put these in one half of the cooler and sandwiches in the other, the whole thing's going to warm up. But if they're all ice cream, I'll be fine. And you could throw some dry ice on it, but I think the future is going to be that thing. Let me just check this. Whoops. This has probably been out for what, about 4 hours? 3.5 hours? Still nice and solid.
Looks like it might be more solid than it was before.
It's pretty good. And once they do me the courtesy of returning my call, I'll tell you where you get these. But so far, they won't call me back. But I think that's pretty nice. I bought the black just because it was different. But, you know. No, it's probably glycol. They don't tell you what's in it. Or else it's a gel. It's not just water, though. And it does a nice job. So let me see how this is doing. It's frozen from the moisture in here. It's frozen solid. There we go. See, what happened is we've got a metal-to-metal contact, and since I just washed out the machine and then turned it on right away, I actually got some buildup in there of ice. Now that's cutting off nicely. I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to fill these. The hardest thing about filling containers is remembering that when you close the gate, it's still falling that far. Most people end up overfilling.
So Steve, do you know which house we need to contact like for distribution? Like who's the one that handles? If there is any office that handles distribution, like if you want to distribute your ice cream, there is like a specific office.
Or if you want to hire someone to distribute your ice cream?
No, I want to like create the brand and distribute the ice cream. So like to create the labels and all that, it should be an office, right?
Oh, you mean where to get the information? Yeah. It'll be right up on that license over there, my wholesale license. I actually got a license for this place because I was working with a church to raise some funds, so we certified this room to be an official wholesale business. I could sell to anybody in the state of Florida from here. The Department of Agriculture handles it in Florida, which is nice. They're so easy to work with. In fact, I've got a card after we're finished here. I'll give you the name of who I deal with. He's not going to be in your area. No, he is in your area. You're in Tampa. Sanford. I think he'll be in your area. Now, look, I forgot. I'm raising up the speed to get the rest of the product out. And I didn't make a very big batch here, and I made it very low air content. So do you want to try this? Okay. Come on up. I'm going to go light on the portions because I don't want a police officer you trying to explain. Honest officer, I was just making ice cream with Steve Thompson. Oh yeah, I know him. His liquor ice creams again. There you go. How is it? Does it have enough? Does it taste coffee?
Yeah.
There we go. We just made it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's good? It does? Oh, good. We have a winner. Wonder where here are my lids.
Did my father get this? You don't love it. Oh yeah.
Oh, I drink coffee all day too. And the thing that works with coffee that I've done before is coffee chocolate chip. Throwing chocolate chips in, chocolate goes great with coffee. No, you don't. But you also don't have the bitterness. I made one batch that I thought, well, gee, if this is if this amount of coffee is good, 3 ounces, 6 ounces will be better. And I gave it to my sister, and I warned her. I said, don't eat this after 4 in the afternoon. It didn't have the alcohol in it, just the coffee. I said, don't eat this after 4 in the afternoon. Well, it's sitting in her freezer, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and she says, oh, I just got to have a little coffee ice cream. And she came in the next morning all bleary-eyed, and she said, your expletive-deleted coffee kept me up all night. I said, sorry, I warned you. Anybody want a little more? Sure. Okay. Would you like a little more?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Well, I guess we got it hit, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Gonna have to be Thompson's Ice Cream Parlor and Bar. Yes, that's good. With ice cream. Let me take this out to Paula, our office manager. Sadie tried to get in.
Do you think that the machine can frozen beer?
Well, any alcohol is going to stay in suspension. Most machines can't do it. They end up being very runny because they don't have enough freezing power. I'm going to have to put that in that freezer over there, so let me move some stuff. I'm going to be off camera for a minute. Yeah, you can put in anything you want. I don't know what beer ice cream would be like, but it could be interesting. But the main thing is that the machine has enough freezing power to be able to do it.
This is a standard Kenmore, right?
Yeah. $550 for this chest freezer.
And there won't be crystals in this?
As long as I don't fill this cabinet up all the way, because if I fill it up with ice cream, it's going to warm up. It was meant to hold green beans at 10 below, but when I fill it up with warm ice cream, now the 10 below goes up to 15 or 20 above. Let me move this. I'll be right back.
Will the flavor enhance when you freeze it?
Yes, it will. It'll get stronger. So if you like it now, it's going to get better.
My opinion, I put some more sugar.
Some what?
More sugar. I know you shouldn't drink coffee.
And that's it. All right, I'm going to sit down.
Stephen, Ohio wants to know, do our batch freezers make frozen custard, and is that still a popular frozen dessert?
The countertop makes frozen custard. Frozen custard is a very low air content ice cream. We invented the frozen custard machine in 1923, and it was popular then. We brought it back out in the 90s, and it was popular then. It's really in sporadic markets, Wisconsin being, of course, the biggest one. But if I was doing an ice cream parlor, besides American ice cream and Italian ice and gelato, I would have some frozen custard, and I would use the little machine, even if the business got so big that you used a larger Emery Thompson for all your other products and used the countertop for the frozen custard.
When you're making products, are there any ingredients that will hinder the freezing process?
Alcohol. Alcohol hinders the freezing process because it never freezes, it stays in suspension. But I know in Malcolm's book, he says if you're making a wine sorbet, add the wine at the very last second and then discharge it because he's afraid it's going to warm up the whole product. The Emery-Thompson refrigeration is so strong that, as you saw, I add it right at the beginning. The alcohol, of course, will never freeze, but everything around it will freeze so well that it'll remain in suspension. Anybody else, any ideas or questions?
I have a question. After you take off the ice cream from the machine and then it's going to the freezer, what's the perfect temperature for that?
To harden the ice cream? About 30 below zero. But even that, I had to say, varies because the 30 below Fahrenheit is based on a refrigerator-style freezer, meaning upright. Every time you open the doors, all the cold is falling out. You're packing it with you're making 6 hours of ice cream. So you're packing warm ice cream after warm ice cream after warm ice cream in there. So it's got to go to 30 below to recover for that cold falling out and putting so much product in. If you had a chest freezer that went to 30 below, and the only people who ever made that was us, we made it for the United States military, a horizontal chest hardening cabinet. That's what's behind Ken over there. That we set at about 25 below because when you open the lids, the cold is just sitting there. Cold air is heavier than warm air, so it just sits there. And that's not a problem. And then if you had a walk-in freezer, if this was a walk-in room, I could set this at about 10 or 15 below, maybe 20 below, because I'm putting on my winter coat, I'm going into the room, my ice cream tubs are spaced with space between them. They're not jammed in there like the normal hardening cabinet. There's air space, which means the air circulation can get all around the tub, so I don't have to go as cold. So it's a simple answer to say 30 below. It's more complex when we get down to really designing your store. What is it you have and what are you going to use? The hindrance to running any business is not going to be what the Emery-Thompson can put out because you can run it all day, all night, forever. You can just call in shift after shift of people to run the machine. But kind of like the movie Fantasia with Mickey Mouse with the water running everywhere, you know, what do you do with it once you fill up all your hardening cabinets or your storage freezers? So your next level of expansion in the business is going to be more storage. Not more batch freezers, but more storage. Where are you going to put this stuff? Because you can, I mean, this thing is designed to run literally all day, all night for the next 45 years. And we have plenty of people doing it. I was talking with a gentleman about University of Maryland. They called up when I was down at Penn State University teaching and ordered some parts for their 85-year-old Emery-Thompson batch freezer. And we had the parts in stock. But that's the way we build them.
So do you have any distributor for the pans and, you know, like all the equipment?
Oh yeah, there's lots of places for everything. The gelato pans I use came from Gelato Supply out of Miami. And I like Gelato Supply. I've never met them, but they've got some other interesting products. Here are some gelato cups. Here's one that's kind of a tulip design, and then they have these in different colors and sizes. They have bright colored spoons, because a lot of it is presentation. If you are going to make gelato and you're going to charge a lot of money for it, well, put it in a nice container. One customer, Culver's Custard up in Wisconsin, he came to New York and because he wanted to learn how to make Italian ice. And we were already selling him custard machines. And so I took him around Little Italy and all that, and he goes back to Wisconsin, and Craig Culver calls me up and says, "Steve, you got to come back to Wisconsin. I do it so much better than you people in New York." Well, what he was doing was he was only making lemon Italian ice. That's the only flavor. But he was putting it in a nice dish like this. His is actually, he's got a very nice container. It's like a short cocktail glass, like you get at a wedding, you know, plastic, except he had his blue Culver's label on it. And he was only selling lemon ice May to Labor Day, and he was using it as a medium for fresh fruit. He'd put the Italian ice in there, and then he would put fresh strawberries on it, or fresh blueberries. And his business was all custard. He sells what are called butter burgers and fries and onion rings and grease and more grease. And here come in the whole family to buy some grease. And he also has this very light, refreshing dessert, especially for the ladies. And it was is a huge seller because it's just a nice light lemon ice with some fresh fruit. So I think that's a great idea. I've got a customer up in, it was also mentioned about, what was the name of the custard business in Pennsylvania? No, the one you told me? Or where?
Carl's, you mean, in Fredericksburg?
Oh, Carl's in Fredericksburg, Maryland or Virginia? Virginia. And when Carl's closes down, people rush in to buy, dozens of pints because he's going to close down for a few weeks. We have a business up in Cape Cod called 4 C's Ice Cream. Wonderful people. They've been in business for a long time. And they have this huge business. They've probably had our machines 40 years or more. This huge business of selling cones from, say, about 11 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. And then the nature of Cape Cod is people go up there with their whole family and they meet old friends who they met on vacation 2 years ago with their whole family. So old families get together with old families when they get up there, and they see each other every 2 years, and they get together for a picnic dinner. And so at 4 in the afternoon, the people start lining up and buying pints of ice cream at 4 C's Ice Cream, maybe 3 or 4 pints, to take home for their family gathering tonight. So he sold them an ice cream at 11 or 12 or 1 in the afternoon. He sold them the pints in the evening, and then if they're still up, maybe they go out at 9 o'clock at night and get an ice cream cone. So he's developed this tremendous business, which is really pretty simple, of just, and not hand packing, because that's very labor intensive, and people don't like to stand there and wait while your pints are, I mean, if you're ordering 4 pints and I just want a single cone, I'm going to leave there unhappy because I've had to wait for you to get your 4 pints. But if I have them pre-packaged from the batch freezer and they're sitting in a freezer and they're at 30 below, I know I can drive the 20 minutes back to my house without them melting. And then one little trick to bringing ice cream or ices up to temperature, we call it, as we mentioned before, tempering. If you take ice cream or ices and leave it out on the counter a half hour before dinner, it's all going to melt around the outside and it's hardcore on the inside. If you took that same product and put it in your refrigerator, take it out of the freezer, put it in the refrigerator for an hour and a half or so before dinner, it all tempers up to a scoopable temperature, not melting around the outside. And so then you can scoop it easily and there isn't all that runny stuff. That's what you tell your restaurants. When you sell them sorbet, you say, now make sure, chef, that you take this out of the freezer tonight at 4 this afternoon and put it into your refrigerator and let my pear sorbet all warm up so that your staff can scoop it at 7:30. And that's how they do it. And the chef is trained in handling food. He can handle that. So it works out very well. But that's the little trick. If you're doing a dinner party, don't leave those pints sitting out on the table. Put them in the refrigerator. Yeah, Ken.
One more custard question. You had mentioned the CB350 with regard to custard. Do the larger machines make frozen custard as well?
In my way of thinking, yes, but in the true purists out of Wisconsin, no, because the CB350 actually goes to a lower air content than the bigger machines, the bigger volume machines. The big machines will go down to about 35% overrun, and the countertop one will go down to about 25. So it's just enough of a marginal difference that, truth in advertising, I'd rather see you make custard on the little one. If you're going to do a high volume custard, you got to go to Stolting, who has a great copy of our machine. They come in single head and twin head, very expensive. They get up around $45,000. But if you're doing a high volume custard business, you see Steve Christensen over at Stolting, and they'll take care of you.
How about selling ice cream that has Oreos in it? Do you have, are there any legal issues you know of doing that?
Oh gosh, I have a great story about Oreo. Oh, talk about marketing idiocy. That's Nabisco. Nabisco, as the story goes, back, it's got to be 25 years. A friend of mine, Mike's Ice Cream in Secaucus, was making Oreo cookie ice cream and calling it Oreo cookie ice cream. He was one of the first people to do it. And some middle management idiot from Nabisco comes over and says, "You can't use our name. And if you use our name, we're going to sue you." And Mike says, "Oh, who needs this?" So he switched over to Hydrox Cookies and ended up calling it, cookies and cream ice cream. Everybody calls it cookies and cream ice cream. 25 years later, how much free advertising has Nabisco lost by not calling it Oreo cookie ice cream? And you can't call it Hydrox cookie ice cream. It just doesn't sound right. So you call it cookies and cream. And we thought the story ended there. Well, about 3 weeks ago, I think it was Gary up in Chelmsford, Mass., Gary's Ice Cream, said that a salesman came in and said, "We want to sell you Oreo cookie pieces. Would you please call our ice cream Oreo cookie ice cream?" And he looked at him and said, "What? After 25 years, now you want us?" So yes, you can use Oreo cookies, but I would still call it cookies and cream until you can, get a letter from them saying, yes, you can use our name. And Hydrox isn't in business right now. So, boy, talk about bad marketing. If someone said, "Can we call my flavor Steve Thompson Vanilla?" Well, sure. I'll pay you to do it. Free advertising. Anybody else? All right. Then I guess we're finished. We finished pretty much on time, 15 minutes early. If you'd like to see the factory, I'll give you a tour. And those of you watching, we have the free DVDs, about 4 of them, and growing. And just email me at etfreezers@gmail.com and send me over your complete address. Now, if you're in a foreign country, we don't always understand the addresses, so make sure you tell us the street, city, province if necessary, the country, the works. And we'll get those DVDs right out to you. And they're going to be a lot like this. They're going to show you more about the machines and more flavors. This whole broadcast will be up on the website probably by tomorrow afternoon, and you'll be able to see it in hour-long segments. And it'll be up there until the first week of May when we do this again. And if you happen to be coming to the United States, Florida is great this time of year, or any time of year. You're welcome to come to Brooksville. Our nearest airport is Tampa and Orlando. And come join us live and get to eat all this free product. So thank you very much. Come on, I'll take you outside, out to the factory. Yeah, you can leave the mic up.
We return back here again, right?
Yes, we're coming back in here. I'll lead the way. Okay, we'll see you out there.
I don't know, I seen this thing.
We build everything from scratch here. We have another building across the street where we do a lot of the machining and the sheet metal and the frames, and then the final assembly is in this building. And I buy everything in order of, I buy from the airport here where we are in Brooksville. So like when I get my frames that we build the machine around, I have them powder coated, the steel powder coated here in the park. If I don't find the park, I buy it in Brooksville, and then Tampa, and then the United States. So everything is coming from the United States, and I try to keep it as close to home as possible. It's all handmade, so it's a walk-around assembly. We're bringing in all our different parts from across the street and from here, and from our suppliers like compressors, and then we're putting them together, and we test every machine that goes out the door. 3 hours of testing on every single machine before it leaves. That way we know it's in good working order before it goes. And we make changes always to improve the machine. This compressor that we buy, this condensing unit, came with a certain size fan motor. We wanted more performance, so we take their fan motor out and put in a larger one. So I keep threatening that I'm going to make a hovercraft because I have about 2,000 little tiny fans. And I've got the airport runway. These are where the larger machines, this is being crated up. That's those 2 machines, and they're going to, who's the cruise company they're going to? Carnival. You know, as they sank one ship, they're now building another one. So they're heading out to Italy in a couple of days to go on the new cruise ship. These are all ready to go out. Different sizes. We make the countertop. Everything's rated by finish capacities. Every other company, the way they rate their machines, like Electro-Freeze, it's really pretty dishonest. They say it's a 20-quart batch freezer. Well, what they're doing is if you took their freezing cylinder and stood it on end and took out the beater and filled it with water, it would hold 26 quarts. Never is it going to make 26 quarts of ice cream at any one time. I think that's very dishonest. So we rate our machines by output. It makes 20 to 24 quarts, depending how you run it, every time you run it. 12, 24, 44. We also rate our compressors by horsepower. Taylor used to rate theirs by BTUs. BTU is not a good rating. 30,000 sounds like a lot of BTUs, but when you start up a compressor in an application like this, it starts at 30,000, and when the product's ready, it's down around 6,000. So what do you call it? 30,000, 6,000, or do you say it's a 3.25 horsepower compressor? I think my way is more honest.
How long do you take from ordering to delivering?
It takes about 3 weeks from ordering to getting a machine.
And you build all the parts right here?
Yep. Well, there's some exceptions. The castings, we have a foundry in Wisconsin. And so this is made at our foundry outside of Madison. That is, feel that, that's solid cast stainless steel. And then we'll take that and we have to then machine, we have to put about 25 hours of machining into that before it goes on the door. But when that's finished, it's going to be good for life. It'll never break, it'll never wear out. And little things like, you know, even the cover knobs. That's going to have about 4 hours of machining in just that cover knob. But it's never going to wear out. And that actually has to be made out of a different stainless material, because if you close one stainless against the other, they'll wear each other out. So this is a softer stainless compared to that. The barrels, as I told you before, we take flat steel, stainless steel, plate stainless steel, and we roll it and then heel arc weld it and then put a back plate on. That becomes our freezing cylinder. That's 6 times thicker than anyone else's in the industry. And that door, as you saw, is so heavy that we have this solid brass ring just to hold the door. And then that'll get wrapped in 110 feet of pure copper tubing.
Yeah, the door is pretty heavy.
Yeah, well, try picking up one of these. That's your freezing cylinder.
Well,
That's never going to wear out. And they're all handmade. Hey, Jerry. This is the frame that we build one of the machines around. It's been powder coated. Once you powder coat steel, it embeds itself in the steel. It stays that way forever. We make this across the street, and then we send it out to the powder coater. And if your feet are out of the way, watch your feet and watch your hands. That's what we're building the machine on. So it's not going to wear out. Wood shop, if you're domestic, we put it on a skid and like an 8-ply cardboard box. If it's going international, we build a full wood skid for it. So like this is one, this is a countertop batch freezer and that stand. And this one's going to Canada, leaving this afternoon. And so we set up the shipping and we get the broker and get it all ready to go. Those are the countertop frames. Here's something I forgot to mention in the program. These are the old ones, and they're made out of dairy metal, so they're illegal to run anywhere in North America. And the way you can tell is it's got, whether it's Electro-Freeze or Emery Thompson, it's black and silver. The ones that are all cast stainless steel are blue and silver. So it makes it easy. And we don't sell the nameplates, so no one can trick it up. This is our Vice President, Slade Harmon, and George is doing all the hand polishing so that when the machine's finished, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. All these compressors are made in America, Copeland. No, no, you don't. That's a punch press. And Steve's final assembling the countertops. So you can see everything is handmade. So we know the quality is fantastic. Excuse me?
You still put these together too? Yourself?
What's that?
Out here.
Do I?
Yeah.
If need be. There's been times when I do. I learned refrigeration when I was 16.
Yeah, I remember one of your videos. Yeah, I watched a lot of your videos.
I guess.
Well, what I talked to you about last year.
Yeah.
You mailed me DVDs
Right.
a year ago. From that point on, I read all the Malcolm's books I read.
Did your friend see you this morning? Did you talk to him?
I don't know, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. But they'll be able to go back.
Yeah.
Watch that?
Oh, yeah. So that was in the opening, so that
Okay.
they'll see that picture.
Okay, cool.
I want to see that
Yeah,
myself.
so do I.
See how it came out.
Thanks for that.
Oh, my pleasure. How you doing, Jack? Okay.
No foreign source components.
Yes. In this model, that dome that you see is made by Embraco in Brazil. That's the only foreign source product in the whole building, because Copeland doesn't make anything this small. That's a 2 horsepower. Everything else is American made.
Now the bigger models, 24. That's
They're
60,
all Copeland compressors made in Ohio.
but the amperage is 60.
No, on the machine you bought,
Yeah.
it's a 40 amp breaker with a 35 maximum load,
Okay.
full load amperage.
All right, I gotta write that down.
Well, I'll
I'm
send
going
it.
on 60 amp. Okay.
I can send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, the bigger one is 60.
Okay. But the one I'm getting is 40 amp breaker.
Yeah.
Probably a stupid question, but the bigger commercial producers of ice cream, are they using freezers like this in a series basically, or are you guys building stuff for them, or is somebody building stuff for them that's so that's even way bigger than anything that you're talking about?
What they use is everybody starts with Emery Thompson, because nobody sets out to build a $100 million dairy plant in Honduras. They start with these machines, and then it's a big jump. It's a $250,000 to jump away from batch freezers, and then it's called a continuous freezer. It's a long, narrow tube, about that diameter, and it makes ice cream at 1,000 gallons an hour. So you have to be making your own mix at 100,000 gallon clip just to feed the thing. And then it only makes vanilla. So it's always going through as vanilla, and then they have a $40,000 machine at the end. This is going to be like Breyers today. They have a $40,000 machine at the end called a fruit feeder, and it injects the flavor into the vanilla ice cream as it's coming out. So technically, from a technical standpoint, their ice cream, their strawberry ice cream is vanilla ice cream with strawberries injected into it. A batch method where the strawberries go into the machine and everybody else is doing it like continuous. With the Emery-Thompson method, with strawberries in there, for every particle of dairy, there's a particle of strawberry next to it. So your flavor is going to be much more intense with our batch freezers because you have more strawberry. The continuous freezer making 1,000 gallons an hour is actually smoother than our ice cream. In fact, we think it's dead smooth. We think it has no texture at all, and food needs to have some texture. So Haagen-Dazs is a good ice cream. What makes Haagen-Dazs good, because I knew Reuben Mattis, Reuben would spend a year developing a flavor. And that's what made it so good. And Pillsbury was smart enough to keep his flavors untouched. But you taste their gelato, and it's absolutely horrendous because it was put together by their food scientists. But all the traditional ice cream flavors of Haagen-Dazs are beautiful. Ben & Jerry, Ben Cohen and Jerry, we put them in business with a batch freezer in their first location. They had the old hand crank motorized salt and ice like I showed this morning out in front, and they had an Emery-Thompson 40 quart in the back making the ice cream. That 40 quart is now in Moscow in a storefront as a display for Ben & Jerry's in Moscow, which is great advertising. And their ice cream is sweeter than Haagen-Dazs. The rumor is because Jerry burned out his taste buds doing drugs in college, and he can't taste sweet as well as the average person. So he develops the flavors. Their ice cream is sweeter than anyone else's.
How much is it small one weighs?
What it weighs? About 270. I just wrote Ben & Jerry. In fact, I got on the ice cream folks' blog and was surprised how many liberals are up there. I was pissed off at Ben & Jerry because they no longer have anything to do with their business, but they still capitalize on their name. And they want to not donate, but they want to raise $2 million to hire activists for the Takeover Wall Street group to go around to different election campaigns and agitate. And I said, for all the money we gave you buying your ice cream, and now you're undermining America, you know, it just pisses me off.
Yeah. All right.
But that's how commercial ice cream's made. But it all started here and continues to. There's a new one in Atlanta that is just fabulous. Paula will know the name. But it's a guy I met a year ago. He's got a master's degree and was a chef for the Hilton or the Marriott in Atlanta. And he set up his own ice cream business, wholesale only. And in a year, he's just taken over Atlanta. I mean, it's amazing just how fast his business has grown. It's great. It's great fun.
Is he using your largest batch freezer?
He started with a 24, now he's got a 44, and they'll be ordering more.
How is he doing the filling? Manually?
No, there's a company I told him about called TD Sawville. It's Troy Sawville Company. And Troy is one of the biggest manufacturers of smaller packaging machines. Packaging machines can cost $5–8 million. Troy makes one for our batch freezer that's pressurized. You make the ice cream, you put it into a hopper, and you push a pedal. And that means the nuts, the cookies, everything can go through. A lot of fillers can't do that. And I think that's about $6 grand. And he even rents them.
That's all?
That's all.
$6,000?
Yeah. And it does a beautiful job. So I tell people, hand pack, like you're getting your business going. If you ask about pints and quarts, call me up. My stock answer is going to be, you hire minimum wage labor and you work it until the labor is absolutely killing you. And when the labor is killing you price-wise, then you go buy a Sawville package filler. And it just will eliminate all that completely.
And if you want to do it manually, do you make something like an attachment that would go on the chute that would narrow it down so that if you were filling smaller containers, you wouldn't have that giant?
It cannot be done. And I'll tell you why. In fact, Cappigiani did it, and they've been sued over every single one of them. They had to buy them all back. I mean, the arrogance of the Italians is beyond me. But it's very simple why it physically cannot be done. Let me use an oven as an example. You're broiling a steak. You want the steak medium rare. So when the steak is medium rare after 8 minutes, you have to take all the steak out of the oven immediately. Or what happens? It becomes it becomes medium, then it becomes well done, then it becomes charred because you left it in the oven where it's still getting freezing. Even with the refrigeration off, there's still freezing going on. So if it takes you more than my 45 seconds to get all the ice cream out, that ice cream is changing in texture. It's getting more air. As you take more ice cream out, there's more room in the barrel, more air is coming in. And so it's like burning the steak. So the Cappigiani, I could have told them, was never going to work because you can't leave the product in a batch freezer. Batch freezer, oven are synonymous.
So basically you have to rig up something separate where you take the batch out, dump it in it, and then have some kind of manual release or something.
Yeah.
Then the ice cream isn't being affected while you're other than melting.
That's right. In 1910, there was a package filler called the Anderson 102. Anderson is now one of the manufacturers of the $100,000 package fillers. We bought the rights to the 102 and made it up until about 1980. It was same idea. You took the ice cream, put it into a hopper, and this one had gears, and you turned the crank. And it sold for $2,000, and I think it cost us $1,500 to make. It was a real pain in the neck and not profitable, so we dropped it. And then Sawville, in recent years, has come up with a pressurized one. The secret was pressurized. I mean, back when we were making that, there were no pressurized soft serve machines. The idea of pressurization didn't exist. So he's got it wired. It's a good unit. And there's another one. There's Frank and Mary Ann I know all these people by their first names because I've known them so long, but Frank and Mary Ann own Tyndall Packaging Company. But the Tyndall machine isn't as good as the Sawville. So I got to recommend what's best for my customers. It's their money, so I recommend the Sawville. And I don't think that guy even knows my name. I see him at trade shows, and he's one of these, "Hi, how you doing?" You know, looking to see who's coming in behind. Hey, if people are that way, that's fine. If they've got what I want to, talk to him, and he's got the best filler, no doubt about it. A great source of labor after you run through all the family members. Policemen and firemen. Every policeman and fireman has a second job. And my feeling is, who can you trust more to close up your building at 3 in the morning than a policeman? I mean, it's absolute security. And so I am big on hiring policemen and firemen to come in when they can to make your ice cream, package it. You know, if the guy's on the midnight to 8 shift, fine, he comes in then. If he's on the 2 to 6, the 10 to 6 in the afternoon, let him come in then. And if he can't come in then, one of his buddies is trained to do it. But most reliable workforce that ever existed, and it's so underutilized. I mean, it just amazes me why people don't use policemen and firemen. I mean, they're great. They're really terrific. Yeah, I mean, who is your building safer with? We got a guy, it's so funny. I mean, Paula's always clipping newspaper articles. It's called Spumoni Gardens. Keith is a friend of mine. Kenny, rather. Got his name wrong. Kenny's a friend of mine, known him for years. And Spumoni Gardens has been there. Every cop in Brooklyn is at Spumoni Gardens for lunch because he gives them a discount. He's also the most protected business in a marginal neighborhood. Well, the other week, unfortunately, Kenny, the funny thing is, Kenny calls me up and says, "I'm thinking of coming down to Florida for a little while. I think I'll stop in." 2 days later, there's an article saying that the FBI is investigating Spumoni Gardens because of their ties to the Gambino crime family. And I said, "Kenny," and the reason was somebody's accused of stealing somebody's Italian recipe for what we call gravy, for spaghetti sauce. And so Kenny's on the phone ordering some parts, telling me he's coming down. And I said, is this what you've come down to? And he's thinking I'm talking about the crime family. This is what you've come down to? You're stealing recipes from other people? And he just laughed. He goes, no, it's the other way around. They stole mine. And I said, I wouldn't want to be them.
Yeah.
But every policeman in Brooklyn goes through Spumoni Gardens, don't they? Though? You ever been there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
And he's smart. He gives them a discount. He's
Yeah,
got,
the free security.
well, and better than that, just well-liked. And all his other customers know, hey, you can go to Spumoni Gardens at midnight, and there's going to be police officers there. It's the safest place in Brooklyn. I mean, it's just clever. It really is. I love talking to my customers because they are the ones who come up with just the most amazing ideas. It's just really fun.
You know, I was thinking about doing cannoli ice cream. Take my cannoli shell and put ice cream in place of the cannoli cream.
Oh yeah, yeah. People do that.
I took cheesecake. Instead of making the cheesecake, I have to get done, mix it all together,
like a waffle cone.
shoot it into a pastry.
Yes, that's right.
Same thing.
In fact, the way you do what they call a variegated ice cream. Variegated is like a butterscotch swirl. The commercial machines injecting it can do it beautifully. Batch freezer, if you dump butterscotch in, it just disappears. So one way is to take a pastry bag, fill it with butterscotch or chocolate. There's a little notch in your machine, and you just squeeze the bag and put in a nice ribbon as it comes out. I was talking to a chef, and I said, you know, I've been doing this way for years. I absolutely hate it because I hate washing those bags. It's just such a pain in the neck. He looks at me like I'm the dumbest person on earth. He says, you're washing the bag by reaching into the bag? He goes, what you do, and he turns the bag upside down, grabs it by the tip of the pastry bag, rolls it out onto his arm, and puts his arm under the water. And I'm going, where have I been? It's just so easy. You go like that and you're cleaning the pastry bag. Oh. Yeah, I know. Well, but if you've never, I mean, if your idea of making pastries is going down and putting down money,
Yeah.
I mean, that's me. That's all I know.
Where's this hole you're talking about?
I'll show you. Right down there, there's a little notch cut out.
Okay. And that's where I stick.
A lot of people make that disappear.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Some of your models have like a screen.
Yeah, that's the old ones.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a better model, but it's up to you.
Okay. How's that come off? Just
2 screws.
2 screws. Okay.
Yeah.
Now cleaning the door, obviously my door stays on, right?
Depends on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to the health department, I take it off every night and put it through the dishwasher.
Okay.
I really know it's not necessary.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at it inside. I noticed it was bolted on. I said, okay.
So that's what we do. Do you have our DVDs?
Yes, we do.
Okay. You have them?
No, I don't.
Oh.
If you set up, that'd be great.
Yeah, let me give them to you.